Hello everybody, and welcome to Herrnhuter Star Building Part 2. Although it's more like Part 15 for me at this point, but, well, we'll just say it's been a bit of an adventure getting to this point. You'll notice that the star is much further along than it was when last we left off, and that's because gluing these LEDs in to the second half was a harrowing and very difficult experience, and I just could not seem to make any sort of good content out of it, so I'm not actually going to upload that part. I mean, I recorded it, so I may just make a video, and if I decide to upload it, there will be a link right there. But yeah, so here we are, and we're actually, at this point, ready to start finishing it, finally. I can't even begin to express how many times I've actually, or how close I've gotten to actually giving up on this particular project, but I've left too many projects unfinished on this channel, so I am bloody well going to finish this one. So the next step here is to start wiring it up for power. Now, I've got all of the LEDs wired up in there in parallel with the enameled magnet wire, so everything's set to go there. I left this one LED with longer leads here, so we're going to just solder the power onto that point, run the cable down into it, and hopefully we'll be able to move on from there. So we're going to start by soldering on actually two of these 10 ohm resistors. I decided I wanted to put a little bit more current limiting in, so I had actually gone out and purchased more resistors. I had actually bought, these are 1 watt resistors. I bought some 2 ohm 20 ohm, or 2 watt 20 ohm resistors to use in place of the 1 watt 10 ohm resistors. And I think when I was cleaning my house earlier today, I accidentally threw them away. So we're just going to use 2 of the 10 ohm 1 watt resistors instead. So we're going to just start by heating up the soldering iron here, let it come to temperature, and do our standard little pre-tinning of the LED leads, which are actually already somewhat pre-tinned. I'll try not to melt any of the hot glue or plastic this time around. There we go. And let's see, what can I hold these resistors up with while I'm soldering them? Oh, I know what I can use. Ah, look at that, I'm clever. At least I'd like to think so. Anyway, so I'll just quickly do a little bit of tinning on the resistors here, like so. Oh, that solder is putting out a lot of smoke tonight. Anyway, so there's that. And I'm going to want to, ooh, toasty. I'm going to want to trim these, crop these leads down a little bit here on these resistors, so we're just going to maybe make them about that long. Like so. There we go. And then I'm going to tack them on to the LED leads here. Let's see, right about there, I think. There we go. There's that one, beauty. And here's that one. Excellent. Okay. Now, I need to communicate to myself with the polarity here, so just following the polarity of the LEDs, I'm going to temporarily crop that one like that so I know that this is the positive lead. Ooh, I should probably work this one on just a little bit better than I actually did here. Ah! Oh, crap. Come on. Cooperate, you. Oh, that's getting really toasty warm. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's a little bit better. Now we're going to want to electrically isolate these just a little bit. So I'm going to reach over here and grab a small section of this dual wall heat shrink here. Clip. Let's make them try to be about the same length here. This is definitely a rough draft. This project has gotten so messy due to poor planning on my part and unexpected difficulties and just one thing after another. It's just been very, very difficult and a little upsetting sometimes. Okay, so let me think here. Is this what I actually really want to do? You know what I'm actually going to do? We're gonna bend these resistors up like so. As I come to the sudden realization that I don't actually have a good pair of needle nose pliers for this kind of process here. I'm just gonna bend these up like so that they're going out of the top of the clamshell here. And then we're going to go to the part that I've actually been kind of nervous to do, but I think is actually going to be pretty necessary. And that's using this stuff. This is liquid electrical tape. And it made a funny noise there when I uncapped it. And for two reasons. One, I want to make sure that these wires are even more insulated than they are, but I also want to try to limit the amount of light that's leaking from behind the LEDs into the rest of the star. So, oh wow, this stuff is messy. Oh geez. So what I'm hoping I can do is just kind of paint you. This stuff is disgusting. Paint the inside of this star. Oh geez. Now it's all over my fingers. But yeah, I just want to kind of slop this stuff on the inside of the star here. And the part that I'm nervous about is that it contains methyl ethyl ketone, and I'm not too sure how that's going to react with the plastic of the star. Wow, I've got it all over my fingers, and yeah. So I can already tell that I'm going to need to put multiple coats of this stuff on. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out and come back after I've gotten a good coat of this liquid electrical tape on the insides of the clamshell here. So I'll be right back. Alright, so we're back. This stuff is really gross. It has some very powerful fumes to it, but yeah, I think I mostly got the effect I was after here. I just need to peel off some excess here. It's interesting, the plastic of the star... Oh no, the plastic of the star didn't like the stuff either very much. But the The stuff that was really seeming to not appreciate its presence was the hot glue, of all things. Alright, so that's looking actually pretty good there. So what I want to do next is we're going to apply... I need to clean off some excess goop here. So I'm just going to take my X-Acto blade here and trim off any excess hot glue and or liquid electrical tape. And the fumes are really quite intense here. So we'll just quickly clean up any excess here. Probably should have done that off camera, but no, shouldn't take too long. Because for the next step, we're going to need to have a fairly clean surface, because we're going to be gluing the two halves of the clamshell together now. It should be almost good enough. Let's nick that off. There we go. Let's see what else needs a little cleaning here. Let's just trim any excess goop. I feel that should be good. I got a reasonably decent fit going on here. So the next step, that actually almost glues itself together, is to grab this goop, and I'm already woozy from the fumes from the electrical tape, so now we get to mix it with whatever this stuff is, which is in German. So let's see. It's got some dangerous chemicals that sound even more dangerous in German. Okay, so we'll as my brain supplies, everything's more dangerous in German. That shouldn't be as funny as I'm finding it. So we're just gonna... Oh, this glue has boogers. We're just gonna apply a little bit of glue. You don't need much of this stuff, and you want to make sure that you don't apply too much, otherwise you get excess kind of bleeds out, and then it's going to make gluing the spikes on a little bit more difficult. But let's just arrange this around, and then we'll squish it together a little bit here. Make sure everything's decently aligned. Man, this thing is really super messy. On my second draft of this project, because I'm actually communicating with the folks over at Herrnhuter, hopefully they'll help me out with obtaining a new kit so that I can work on a final draft of this, something that's a little less sporadic and messy. So that's looking pretty good there. I'm gonna have to hold it tight here for a bit while I wait for it to cure. But while I'm waiting for it to cure, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my hot glue gun that I've got all pre-warmed up here, and I'm just gonna goop a bunch of hot glue in and around these resistors right here at the opening. And the reason I want to do that, and I'm probably going to have to do this in multiple stages because it's kind of falling in, but the reason I want to do that is to act as kind of a strain relief for those resistors, because they're kind of on their own there. And they're going to be supporting the weight of the star, so we're going to want to make sure that there's plenty of strain relief on them. There's a bunch of goop on them that I'm gonna have to... I guess the heat of the soldering iron will clean that off for me. And here I am blowing directly at the mic. That probably wasn't overly pleasant. So I'm gonna kind of center these and wait for all of this glue to cure and harden and set and all of the various different things that have to happen here. Thankfully, the plastic solvent that's used to glue the stars together cures fairly rapidly, so I'm just gonna wait for this to cure. There we go. That's good. Or not cure, but set. I don't know, what's the term for hot glue? Cool? Set? Harden? Something like that. Wow, Chris, you've got some really stimulating conversation today. Alright, so there's the clamshell complete, pretty much. Now I want to test it to make sure that at some point during all of this falderall it hasn't, spectacularly failed. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly, while I'm waiting for all of the glues to set, hook it up to power, and oops. Assuming we get the, hang on a second here. I'll short those out so that they resync, because I don't want them massively out of sync here. There we go. So, yeah. Looks like all of the lights are lit. So that's working. Beauty. Doesn't look like there's a lot of light leakage, which is what I wanted to accomplish with the liquid electrical tape there. So that's a happy thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the phase wherein I glue the spikes on. But I'm not actually going to subject you guys to that on camera. I'm just going to hop into time lapse here and glue that all together, and then we'll come back for the final phase of the construction, which is going to be taking this and removing the old light, soldering on the leads, taking these apart, soldering on a USB connector here, and then we should be all done. So let's time lapse those spikes on real quick. I'll be right back.